I won't say that attitude alone will make you successful, but I do think that attitude alone can keep you from success.
You're a voice actor. You're an entrepreneur. You're a VOPRENEUR. Welcome to the Everyday VOPRENEUR podcast, your guide through the business of voiceover.
Your voiceover demos are your #1 marketing tool, and you need to display them on your website in a way that works on any device or browser. VoiceSam is the player producers love. Plus, it offers tools that can improve your email signature, quickly create a one-page website, and much more. Sign up now at voicesam.com/markscott and get 3 months of the base player for the price of one. That's voicesam.com/markscott for full details and to sign up.
The VOPRENEUR podcast. Hey, it doesn't suck.
Not as funny as Conan. Not as cute as Seth Meyers. Not as smart as Colbert. But he's one of us, and that counts for something. Here's Mark Scott, the original Everyday VOPRENEUR.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Everyday VOpreneur podcast, your guide through the business of voiceover. I'm Mark Scott, the original Everyday VOpreneur, here once again to give you more actionable, practical advice that you can apply specifically to the voiceover business, to the business side of voiceover. Voiceover, entrepreneur, VOpreneur. That's you. That's why you're here. That's why you're listening. Before we dive into this week's episode, I do want to take a moment to say thank you once again for leaving your reviews on Apple Podcasts. I love reading those reviews. They're a good reminder of how you guys are feeling about the podcast. Helps me to know whether or not you're enjoying it, enjoying the topics, the different episodes and whatnot. Plus, they also help other people to find the podcast. So if you haven't done it yet, it would mean a lot to me if you would take a minute to leave your review. Consider it your Christmas gift to me. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you've missed an episode, there are 80 some odd episodes in the archive, and you can check them all out at VOPRENEUR.com. So here we are in December. We've got 1 month left of 2020, and we've got 1 month left to get ourselves ready for 2021. Now, I know that a lot of people think that New Year's is going to roll around, the ball is going to drop in New York City, and all of a sudden everything is going to be better. New year, new start, we're good to go again. And as much as I would like to think that that is what is going to happen, I think we can all admit that that's not actually what is going to happen. And that means that we need to start preparing ourselves for it now. And I want to dive into that a little bit further, because what I mean by that is what I've seen is that 2020 has become, I'm going to say it's become an excuse. And I think you can probably agree with me, because you've probably been there, done that at least one time with something like this. So something doesn't go your way, 2020. You fail at something, 2020. Your business hasn't been as good as you had hoped this year, well, let's just blame it on 2020. Every time that something bad has happened, every time that there's been a negative experience, anytime that things have not gone the way that we had hoped or planned or dreamed, maybe didn't go quite according to what goals we had set for ourselves at the beginning of the year, we've gotten into this place where we're just passing it off as 2020. You've seen it on social media. You've probably done it. It's probably come up in conversations with colleagues or conversations with family, right? All the bad stuff, we just pass it off as 2020, and we've allowed it to become an excuse. And the problem with that is the assumption becomes that then in 2021 everything will be better, so we're just going to pick up and start over again in 2021. And I don't know that there's going to be a whole lot of changes in the states of the world in 2021. I mean, we're still going to be dealing with the pandemic. There's still going to be restrictions. We're still not going to be able to travel everywhere. We're probably still not going to be able to see everyone. COVID is still going to be around. Yes, we'll have a vaccine. Things will be better. We'll be moving in the right direction, but it's not just like we're going to flip a switch and all of a sudden 2021 is going to be a better year. The only way that that's going to happen is if we are intentional about making it a better year. And that means not doing things like we've done this year, which is just saying, this year sucked, 2020, whatever, moving on. Who had X on their 2020 bingo card, right? Have you seen that on social media? So it's going to be up to us to get our attitudes in check. If 2021 is going to be a better year, despite whatever circumstances may arise, it's going to have to be because of intentional action, intentional thought on our parts to make it so. And that's kind of the theme that I want to take with this episode. I want to talk about attitude and how attitude equates to success. So let me ask you a question. Actually, I want to ask you a few questions. Have you ever said any of these phrases? And maybe you've said them out loud. Maybe you've posted them on social media. Maybe you've just thought them. I'm not good enough. I'm just too new. My equipment isn't good enough. My studio isn't professional. I don't have a Neumann or a 416. I don't have enough training. I haven't got a clue how to market myself. I just don't want to bother people. What if they don't like my audition? I can't afford to spend thousands of dollars on demos. You ever ask yourself any of those? There's a common theme in all of those questions and in all of those trains of thought. You know what the common theme is? Do you recognize it? Every one of those is negative. Every one of those phrases, which at some point we've all probably said at least a couple of them, every one of them focuses on a problem. But here's the thing. When you tell yourself one or two of these things, before long, you're telling yourself 5 or 6 of these things. Before long, it starts to shift the overall narrative of your life and your business. So shortly after you've asked all these questions and had all these struggles and put all that energy out there, you're left completely questioning your decision, your desire, and maybe even your ability to do voiceover. And when you put that in the context of 2020 and all of the struggles and the challenges that everybody has faced this year, it becomes even worse. Did you experience a slowdown in your business this year? Then you're probably feeling it even more so. Did you lose the day job or experience cutbacks at the day job? And you're trying to figure out how to make that up in voiceover. Maybe you wanted to go full-time into voiceover, but you weren't quite ready yet. You know what I'm saying? So when we start to focus on that negative, when we're constantly reminding ourselves of all of the problems, it's like an infection. It's like an infection that affects your overall mindset, and you carry that with you. You carry it with you when you go into the booth. You carry it with you when you go into conversations with clients, with colleagues, with coaches. You carry it with you in negotiation. You carry it with you in your marketing. You're carrying around all of this negative energy, constantly focusing on those problems. We've all been there, to be clear, myself included. I will never forget this one time that I had a voice actor write me a pretty lengthy letter chastising me for all of the useless advice that I was constantly sharing. This person was a member of my Facebook group. They were watching some of the videos on my YouTube channel. This was before I did a podcast, so they hadn't listened to that yet, but just ripping me a new one over all of my useless advice. And he went on about how I was always so positive and how that's just simply not realistic. It's just not realistic to be positive because there are so many negative things out there. There are so many problems out there. And he concluded his rant by accusing me of being nothing more than a fraud and the voiceover version of Tony Robbins. Now, I'm fairly confident based on the tone of his email that he was meaning that to be insulting. I'm sure that he'd be very incredibly disappointed to know that I actually took it as a compliment. So let me tell you something. I am a recovering victim. And I want to clarify that statement. It's not of abuse or anything like that. But I'm a recovering victim of my own negative self-talk. There was a point in my life, and it wasn't that many years ago, where if you gave me long enough, I could find a dozen problems in just about any circumstance. Like I was the guy that, could win $100,000 in the lottery and find a problem with it, right? This is what I did. No matter how good the circumstances were, I would find a way to find something wrong. And in doing that, and constantly focusing on that energy, ultimately I would turn it into a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you tell yourself a negative narrative long enough, it becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy. Why? my outlook was just generally negative. My mindset was that of a victim. Things happened to me. Things happened against me. Nothing ever seemed to happen for me. And again, it was all mindset. One day, around 2011, I met someone whom I will forever love and respect because they took me aside and they called me out. Straight up. They weren't mean about it. They didn't yell or insult me or anything like that. But when they kind of threw everything that I was throwing out, when they threw it back at me, it made me look at it right smack in the face. I realized what I was doing. And I got to tell you that it was like a mule kick in the groinal region. Now, I don't know if you've ever experienced a mule kick in the groinal region. I can't say that I've specifically felt that physical feeling, but I would assume that it was probably on par with what I was feeling. And it made me stand up and take notice. That kick, it was a huge reality check for me because I realized that, first of all, I wasn't really that much fun to be around because I was just always grumpy and miserable. And I didn't even realize that I was grumpy and miserable, but it was just that I was so negative and I was always so down and I was always looking, the glass was always half empty, right? And when you're that way for so long, you don't even realize that it's a bad thing. And so I guess you don't fully appreciate how that affects the people that are around you. And maybe that's why nobody wants to be around you. And so I had this reality check, right? So I want to ask you, what kind of messages are you feeding yourself? Do you start your day with doubts about your skills? Do you have doubts about your ability? Doubts about whether you've made a poor choice? Doubts about whether or not you should be doing voiceover at all? Can you constantly find the negative? Can you constantly find the problems? Are you listening to me right now? And I know that there's one of you at least out there right now that is listening to me right now as I'm saying this, and you're saying, "But Mark, wait, you don't understand my situation. But Mark, hold on, you don't know what I'm going through." Now, Mark, stop, listen. You don't understand what it's like, and you're pushing back. I know you're out there. I know you're doing it. Do you want to know how I know you're out there and I know you're doing it? Because not that many years ago, I was out there and that's what I was doing. Stop and take a breath, okay? If you're constantly starting out your day from a position of negativity, if you're constantly focusing on the problems, you will create a self-fulfilling prophecy. If that is where you are beginning your day, if that is the story, if that is the narrative, how can that possibly set you up for a good day? Am I right? I understand. I know that there's stuff going on. I know 2020. Hey, I took a financial hit in my business this year. I took a financial hit in some other things that I've got going on this year. I have felt the stress. I have felt the pressure. I have had the social anxiety, even as an introvert, not being able to go out and see my friends, not being able to spend as much time with my family, going through trying to explain this to my kids and helping them to make it all make sense and why they can't see their friends and why they're not in school. I get it. It's been a tough year. But even in the midst of that, you can still have a lot of really good days. But it all comes down to narrative. What are the stories that you're telling yourself? 2021 is going to be as good as you make it. And a lot of people used COVID and the pandemic as an excuse for why their business didn't do the things that they thought it was going to do in 2020. But there are a lot of people who had record-breaking years. There are a lot of people who are out there who had great clients, great opportunities, experienced growth in their business, growth in their income. Those are the people who, despite whatever's going on, get out there and hustle and do the work. Those are the people that are spending every day doing a little bit of marketing, making some new connections, trying to find opportunities for themselves. I want to teach you how to be one of those people. VoiceOver Marketing Playbook is coming again January 5th through the 14th, 2021. This is your opportunity to start the year off right, learning how to be a more confident and effective marketer. So here's the deal. If you've got professional training, demos in a home studio, but you're still not booking, if you're confused, overwhelmed, frustrated, don't know what to say in your messaging, don't know who to talk to, don't know how to approach it, we can fix all of that. VoiceOver Marketing Playbook is a step-by-step, easy-to-follow marketing course that is going to give you a clear plan for finding your own leads, building your own client base, and becoming the consistently working voice actor that you want to be. Let me help you get there. Playbook is coming January 5th through the 14th, 2021. Watch the website for details. I would love to have the opportunity to work with you. January 5th through the 14th, 2021. Details available at voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. That's voiceovermarketingplaybook.com.
Now, back to our show.
What I want to do with the next couple of podcasts leading up to 2021 is I really want to give you some practical, actionable advice, as always, but practical, actionable advice that's going to set you up for a better year in 2021. I don't want January to roll around and the pandemic doesn't go away. And just like we've done this year where it's like, oh, well, that sucked, but hey, it's 2020. I don't want to give one person an opportunity to say, well, things just aren't going my way. What are you going to do? 2021, right? And we start using that as an excuse the same way that we've used 2020. So I want to give you some things that will hopefully set you up for a better start. Because 2021 can be as awesome as you make it, regardless of what is going on in the world. Because you have the power to control your attitude. You have the power to control your mindset. You have the power to approach your business with gratitude, to be thankful for every client, for every booking, for every audition, to walk into that studio every day with a smile on your face, feeling confident in your skill and in your ability to book and in your ability to deliver great reads. So if 2021 is going to be a better year for you, what you're going to have to do is start asking a different set of questions. Instead of focusing on the problems, remember, go back to those questions at the beginning of the episode. I'm not good enough. I'm just too new. My equipment isn't good enough. I don't have enough training. I haven't got a clue how to market myself. You know, all of those things that come from a negative headspace that focus on the problems. Instead, I want you to focus on the solutions. Instead of tearing yourself down before you even get started, I want you to build yourself up and then stroll into the studio with a smile. Mindset matters. This is probably one of the single most important lessons that I have learned in my life, period. I have been able to take that and apply it to voiceover. And when I made that mindset shift in my voiceover business, that is when it's one of the factors that led to an exponential growth curve in my voiceover business. But it extended beyond that as well. I was able to apply that mindset into my life and into my relationship and into my home and in my family and all of these things. And it doesn't mean that I don't have bad days. Of course I have bad days. There are times when I say bad words and throw things because stuff is not going my way, but I don't live there. I don't stay stuck there. You know, I don't get frustrated and give up. I feel the feels and then I find something to be grateful for and then I move on. This is what I want you to do. I want you to understand how essential mindset is going to be to your success in 2021. Now, does this mean that you can think yourself into a successful voiceover career? Of course not. That's not what I'm saying. I get the whole new age voodoo vibe that you get from listening to somebody talk about mindset, because that's exactly how I felt when I was in the process of learning about all of this stuff. I think that you still have to do the work. You still have to have the skill. You still have to have the ability. You still got to get your butt into the office every day and send some marketing emails and make some contacts. You still got to participate in some coaching, some training, some webinars, some workshops, make some smart investments, read a book, listen to a podcast, whatever. There's still things that you have to do every day to move forward. But if you do those things coupled with a positive mindset, that's when you are going to start to see a big difference in your results. So what does it mean? It means if you wake up in the morning and you tell yourself you're good enough, You tell yourself that you're getting better every day. That is going to have a huge impact. It's going to impact your auditions, your recordings, your marketing, your networking, the way that you interact with your clients and your colleagues. It's going to impact every other aspect of your life and business. Learn to control the narrative. You get to decide, right? If somebody punches you in the face, you're not automatically compelled to punch them back. You get to choose. You get to choose if you're going to be angry and, drop them to the ground, or you get to choose if you're going to forgive and walk away. You get to choose if you're going to laugh about it, if you're going to cry about it. You get to make a choice. You get to dictate the narrative of what happens when somebody punches you in the face. You get to dictate the narrative of what happens in your life and in your business through the choices that you make, through the attitude and the mindset that you approach your business and your life with. And I want to leave you with this one final thought, because I know that, maybe this doesn't have any, maybe you're thinking that this doesn't have anything to do with business and marketing and voiceover, and maybe you're like me a few years ago and you're not there yet, or you don't know it, or maybe you're feeling really convicted right now, which is actually a good thing, by the way. But no matter what do you have to lose by being more positive? Answer that question. Think about it. Like, if you think this is all crap, which is fair, what's the worst thing that happens by you taking a good attitude into the booth? What's the worst thing that happens for you taking control and responsibility of your actions and your reactions? What's the absolute worst thing that can happen by you starting out each day with a little bit of gratitude? I can't think of anything bad that is going to come from that. Build yourself up each day. Learn, grow, and don't let 2021 become an excuse like so many have allowed 2020. Because I'll tell you right now, next year is going to be as good as you make it. If this episode in particular has encouraged you, if this has been motivating for you, inspiring for you, if you're feeling convicted right now, would you do me one favor? If you go to VOPRENEUR.com and you look up this episode, whether it's on the homepage or whether you're listening to this a couple weeks later, and you look up episode 87, would you do me a favor and share this on your social media feeds? I've pre-written some tweets that will allow you to do that. All you got to do is click the button. But would you share this episode 87? Would you share it on your Facebook page? Share it on your Twitter stream? Maybe include a line or a quote in your Instagram stories? Because there's other people out there that need to hear this message. And I hope that they'll get to. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.
The Everyday VOpreneur Podcast. Available everywhere fine podcasts are given away for free. Mostly, we think.
Your voiceover demos are your #1 marketing tool, and you need to display them on your website in a way that works on any device or browser. VoiceSam is the player producers love. Plus, it offers tools that can improve your email signature, quickly create a one-page website, and much more. Sign up now at voicesam.com/MarkScott and get 3 months of the base player for the price of one. That's voicesam.com/MarkScott for full details and to sign up.
And scene.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging in. Thanks for hanging out. Want more VOpreneur goodness? Jump online at VOPRENEUR.com.